Okay, so I decided to cover the section of the benevolent planner quickly. Reason being, it does help to understand, because that's just like the fundamental, no money involved, no trade involved, kind of optimal allocation regardless of individual agents' decisions. So this all stayed the same. Time period, subscript T, people live 2 periods. There's young, then you become old. The number of young people last period is exactly equal to the number of old people this period. Nth of T is the population of young, Nth of T minus 1 is the population of old in the current period. Here we have Nth of T, C1, comma T. This is all of the consumption from the young in period T. The amount of goods in the economy is exactly equal to Nth of T times Y. Y is the initial endowment of goods to each individual young person by this benevolent planner. So the total number of goods in the economy must be equal to the number of young people multiplied by each individual person's amount of endowment. It's pretty simple. Population times goods per person equals total goods of young. Here we have the number of old people in the current period times their consumption in the current period. So C1 and C2 are 2 consumption bundles. The bundle for young people and the bundle for old people. And they're denoted by 1 and 2, comma, period. So right now we're in the current period of T. This T minus 1 subscript for the N represents the amount of old people. This can be very confusing. It seems that we're in 2 different time periods, but we're not. The T on the consumption bundle denotes the time period you are currently in. So Nth of T minus 1 just represents the number of old people because they were born last period. They were born in T minus 1 period relative to the T period that we're in now. This graph, you have C1 on the x-axis and C2 on the x-axis. Oh, I made a mistake. This is not 1. This is C2, and this is C1. So, just like microeconomics, your consumption bundle is limited by your income. In this, the feasible set line is the maximum amount of consumption that can occur in the economy based off of the number of goods in the economy. So C1 plus C2 is less than or equal to Y. In all of these models we're going to be going through, they're all bound by a feasible set, which is the maximum amount of consumption based off of the maximum amount of goods. So this says that the consumption of good 1, the consumption of good 2 is less than or equal to Y. Now again, they're not necessarily individual goods, but it's consumption of young people and consumption of old people is bound. It cannot be more than the amount of goods in the economy. That's what this represents. So less than or equal to is always a bound. It's a maximum that can be consumed. All this shows you is a feasible set line. So any point outside here is not feasible based off the number of goods currently in the economy that were injected into the economy via the benevolent planner and the young people's initial endowment. BRB, get a phone call.